Well, she's in the trailer. That's step number one, and the hardest step. So normally what I do to load these pigs up, well, this is only the second time I've done it, but it's worked both times. This little trailer is awesome. I did throw a few pieces of hog panel across the top with some very pretty tie straps, and that just keeps them from wanting to jump up over the edge and you know, climb up on the sides and stuff like that, which they will do. But I just backed the trailer in to the area, and this time I ran, just extended the electric wire right around the back tires and underneath the trailer so they can't climb underneath it, and then hooked it up to the supply side of the electric wire here. And I leave the trailer in here for a couple days, and that way they can kind of get used to it. So you know, I've been feeding her in here, but she's never come up past the ramp. The pigs will not walk on this stuff. That's too slippery for them. They can't get a grip on it. And so I just built this little ramp. This is just a piece of 3/4 inch plywood with a few strips of wood on it. And I just ran a couple screws through the bottom. You can see this one's already bent, but just a couple screws or bolts through the bottom of it there. And then those screws just fall right through some of these holes here. And they'll climb up there pretty good. It takes a little bit of luring. Once they get used to it, they get right in there. So this is Martha. She has been losing quite a bit of hair since I separated her from her babies, and this seems to happen with her every year. She has a litter. After the litter, she loses a bunch of hair. Then wintertime comes through and she'll grow it all back again. But she's been a very healthy, good mother for us. So ever since the little incident with George, our older boar, in fact, George and Martha, this pig here, were bought together. They were our original two breeding pair that we bought. It has been 3 years since we've had them. She has given us 2 litters of 8 each, so 16 piglets have been born through her. 2 of them did not make it, and so we had a total of 14 piglets that she you know, raised for us. Which worked out really well. Lots of pork in the freezer from some of those piglets that we took in last year for processing or earlier this year, and she will be a great source of food for us also, as well as a great source of money she was for selling those piglets. So George, the boar that cut me open earlier this year, I always carry a stick, and I always recommend carrying some kind of a. It doesn't have to be they make electric wands that you can carry around with you when you're with pigs, but if you just have something, you know, like this, I just carry it in my back pocket. It's not very long, but as long as I have something in my back pocket where I can just whack their nose and just keep them away from me, that's what I always would do. If ever I was in with George, and whenever you're in with a boar, you got to be super careful, of course. But when he got me, he snuck up on me, and I wasn't prepared. And so there was nothing I could have done, even if I had a defensive weapon with me at that time. But so today we're taking in Martha to be processed. It's a sad and a happy time for us. I mean, it's one less pig that we need to be feeding and caring for right now. But she has been a favorite of ours and one that we've cared for and we've had for several years. And she's been a great mother and a great pig for us. But it's just time for her to go and new piglets to be raised up here. We are slowly trying to minimize and redo our little pig operation here, but we haven't decided whether we're going to completely give it up yet. We're on the fence about that. I may just throw some money at it and make a new pig operation. I just don't know if I have time this year, but we'll see. So we're slowly kind of reducing the number of pigs that we have here on the farm for right now, but we are still going to keep at least a breeding pair around for us for the future. Well, we're all dropped off, and it's always a mixed feeling dropping off the animals for processing. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, you could do that yourself." Yeah, we could process a pig, I'm sure, but are we going to get smoked hams and smoked bacon, and are we going to get everything vacuum sealed and individually wrapped and ready to freeze or ready to sell to somebody else if we wanted to, or give away as a is it going to be as nice of a product? No, I can butcher up. I mean, we've butchered deer before. I've done it myself, and I'm sure it's not too much more difficult than that. But this is just the route that we go. I'd like to have them professionally done, and that way you end up with just kind of a nicer product in the end. But raising animals for meat is difficult. It's especially difficult for my wife and the kids sometimes. But we always say, these animals really had a great life, and that was the idea behind us raising these animals out the way that we did. They were cared for well, they were fed well, they were always very healthy, they were happy, they always had everything that they needed, they were given good places to live, and they weren't raised in some tiny little pen in the dark corner of a barn somewhere or something like that. These animals were raised well, and so they really only have one bad day and or one bad second, and it's not a bad thing. We eat meat, and we eat bacon, we eat beef and all these things, and so I'd rather raise these animals myself in a sustainable, natural way, as natural as possible, than pick them up from a factory farm, pick them up from Walmart or something and have them raised out somewhere on a different farm, and I don't know how they were raised, I don't know what they're eating, I don't know all that kind of stuff. So, and maybe some beef we'll be raising out here on our farm as well. So our pig operation continues, although on a lowered scale or a smaller scale. We still have the 4 piglets here, and we still have another sow that we bought, a registered sow, and she's in another pasture. She's almost of breeding age, and so we need to decide what we're going to do here. But sometimes these endeavors, if you're getting into homesteading or getting into livestock, we wanted to do things differently. So we're not here to just go buy feeder pigs and have somebody else breed pigs and then have us buy them. Same with cattle, same with goats, same with anything that we're going to raise here, chickens. We're going to create a sustainable operation where we can breed the animals, where we can grow them out, where we can sell some of the piglets or the babies of whatever breed of animal we're raising, and then use some of that money to recover costs for feeding them, and then we'll have some meat for ourselves and all that kind of stuff. So when you start to really raise livestock sustainably, it takes a whole lot longer. I mean, just getting these pigs and raising them out, these pigs take 18 to 22 or 24 months even to really grow out to full size on pasture. If I were to really feed them grain and feed them grain and feed them grain, then I probably could grow them out a little bit quicker than that, but not much. And so if you think about that, we've got several years invested into just our first harvest of meat, just our first pigs that went to the processor earlier this year. And last night for dinner we had a ham, we had carrots from the greenhouse garden, and we had potatoes from the greenhouse garden. And if you think about all the work that went into just that one meal was raised entirely on our farm. That was had a protein and vegetables. We didn't drink goat's milk, but we probably could have, and had a totally rounded meal that came entirely from our operation here, so raised sustainably, all born on this farm and processed and all that. But you're talking about 3 years of work that went into that, and that's a long time for dinner. Took 3 years to make that dinner. You know, even the greenhouse, of course we could have grown that stuff in the garden, but you know, it was grown in the greenhouse, which took a lot of effort and work and time and preparation. And you know, all the compost that was in that garden was from the pigs and the goats and cleaning out the stalls and the chickens and all that stuff. All that manure and all the straw and all the wood chips went into that and grew food for us. And it's all part of this operation that all starts, you know, back there in the hay fields. And but it takes a long time. So if you're, you know, it just really depends on what kind of farm you want to have, what kind of homestead you want to run. You really need to have a source of protein though. You really need, I mean, if you're vegetarian and you don't eat any meat, that's totally fine. We could have a whole other discussion on that. But if you are, you know, the rest of us, we eat meat, and you need to be able to raise your own meat as part of your operation. If you don't have a large homestead, that could just be chickens. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with raising out chickens, and I've talked about this many times. We have a kind of sustainable operation for our chickens. We raise them out, they lay eggs, we harvest them for meat, we raise the chicks, and we continue to do that throughout the year. And we always have a supply of eggs and meat and baby chicks to continue that operation on. You can do that on just in a half an acre, you know, in your little homestead or little town section or anything like that. You don't need to have a bunch of property to do that. But I do recommend you have some source of protein, although it does take longer time to get into these sustainable operations. Instead of just buying someone else's animals and raising them out and taking them to the butcher, it is worthwhile, and it's so satisfying to have raised up, to be able to sit down and eat a meal that you have entirely raised on your farm, that you have cared for and literally for years fed, watered through the winter time, you know, watched the babies be born and gave them a good life, grown all the vegetables in your own compost with nothing that was bought from the stores or anything like that. Either a train or a plane that always goes by whenever I'm trying to talk. But when you can sit down and eat, you know, a well-rounded, complete meal, you know, apples from our apple trees, carrots from the garden, pork from the pigs that we raised, potatoes from our garden, all those things together, you know, it's a satisfying thing. And although it takes a long time, you know, I waited 3 years for that dinner, but it takes a long time. But it's such a satisfying thing to have done that all yourself. And not only that, but that's not just a one-time thing. The next generation of that farm, of that life, of all of those things is right here behind me. You know, what they're eating, and this is just, you know, they're not on a pasture yet. They'll go out to pasture now that mom's gone. But these guys right here are not only growing and producing, you know, next year's bacon for us, but they're also tearing up these stalls and messing in them and mixing all their manures and all that stuff with wood chips and straw, and all that stuff will get taken out and put in the compost pile. And by this time next year, not only will we have these pigs to eat, but we will have all of their composted manure that will be growing vegetables in. And so next year's dinner is already in the process of being made. It does take time, but it's a great thing. So the pig operation, will we keep it, will we not? I'm leaning, I may have changed my mind a little bit. So I will be talking more about that as we get into the fall. Time is tight right now, and I don't know if I'll have time to truly make the pig operation that I want to make, and so that will determine whether we can keep these pigs or not. But I may have an idea, and we'll see if we can make it happen. So if you'd like to hear more about the pasture pig operation, kind of the ideal, I guess you'd say, pasture pig operation that I have in mind, if you want to get the tour on that and see what I have in mind, let's get up to 1,000 likes on this video. We get 1,000 likes, 1,000 thumbs up on the video, I'll come back and we'll do that tour video, and we'll go through the whole process and see what you guys think. So hopefully you guys enjoyed a little update on the pigs, a little update on sustainable food. That's what we're all about here. Simple, sustainable living. That's what the SSL stands for in this SSL Family Farm thing we're doing here. It's all about doing it sustainable, not necessarily like everybody else. There's a lot of learning and a lot of time involved in these things. So, but as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.